Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Clarendon under lockdown, state of public emergency declared to restore order. Government allocates $25 million to Cherry Tree Lane incident. And later in sports, Windies coach hails after positive approach in first test versus South Africa. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shimela Pullen. Here are the details. A state of public emergency has been declared for the parish of Clarendon. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Strang made the announcement at a press conference a short while ago. This comes following the mass shooting of 8 people, including a child, in Cherry Tree Lane on Sunday night.
The Honourable Prime Minister has advised the Governor General to make such a declaration on the recommendation of the Chief of Defence Staff and the Commissioner of Police. Our informed assessment is that high levels of violent criminal activity experienced within the specified area is of such nature and such an extensive scale that it endangers public safety. This large single-year count of murders within the parish of Clarendon is attributed to ongoing violence within the division that had reached a tenuous magnitude, resulting in the eventual perpetration of murders as a means of intimidation and further as a form of reprisal as gangs seek to dominate existing turf.
Meanwhile, head of crime for the JCF, DCP Fitzbailey, says the police have made significant progress in their investigation into the mass shooting. He says the killings are linked to 6 incidents in the parish over the last few years.
These incidents include a quadruple murder in Havana Heights in 2021, a murder committed on April 21st, 2024, and a subsequent shooting and arson that was committed on April 25 in West Park. The other incidents include a murder that was committed on April 29 in the Cherry Tree Lane, a murder that was committed on May 11 along Fogar Road, Maypen, as well as a murder that was committed on May 15 in Yorktown.
He says the police are on alert for possible reprisals.
Our findings indicate that these local violent issues have international roots and incorporate local players, some of whom are incarcerated. These individuals who once were friends in Jamaica are falling out in the United States over illegal obtained gains, leading to each taking homicidal contracts to incite fear and terror. Criminal actors in prisons were contacted to facilitate these contracts through their criminal networks, resulting in the senseless bloodshed here in Jamaica.
And Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced the establishment of a $25 million reward fund.
We will provide $6 million Jamaican dollars for information, credible information, and intelligence leading to the arrest and charge of any suspect involved in the killing. We will provide $5 million for information aiding in the investigation, arrest, and charge of facilitators of this criminal act. We will give a reward for the provision of information and intelligence leading to the recovery of the firearms that were involved in this killing. We will provide $5 million for the supply of information and intelligence resulting in the securing of evidence, any form of evidence, against the gangs that were involved in this operation. This fund will be under the administration of the Ministry of National Security, and the traditional methods of providing information can be used, but any method that you use to get the information in Once it is forwarded to the Ministry of National Security and the relevant details are available, the payments will be made securely.
Now, a high-level team has been established to bring the killers and masterminds of the Cherry Lane mass shooting to justice. The details in this report.
Agents of the JCF, JDF and the major organized crime and anti-corruption agency MOCA were locked in discussions in Cherry Lane, Clarendon, the scene of Sunday's deadly mass shooting. The state has decided to utilize the expertise of all three institutions to solve the crime perpetrated against the residents.
Our job here is to provide intelligence and investigative as well as cyber support to the investigations.
Even with the promise of high investigation under cyber techniques, intelligence is needed from residents.
Jamaica is a very small country, and this area, as wide as you might see it, it is also fairly small. And something like this doesn't happen without persons in the community having some knowledge of who's involved or how the attack took place. And so we're appealing to the residents in the community and also the wider Jamaica to support the security forces in bringing these animals to justice. We've created a number of anonymous tip line reporting mechanism. Certainly there's Crime Stop 311, and there's also the MOCA tip line 888 MOCA tip. We're asking persons to make use of these resources to help us in our investigations.
Heavily armed police and soldiers continue to patrol the community. The curfew imposed in the community is also helping to ease the minds of some residents.
The presence of the police is quite evident here. We've had 24 hours presence in the area since the residents are expressing their appreciation. We will continue to be in this space for as long as it takes for normalcy to return.
Nakinski Robinson, TVJ News.
To other news now, there are renewed concerns about the traffic congestion in Brownstown, St. Anne. Councillor for the Brownstown Division, Kim Brown Lawrence, says this is a long-standing issue caused mainly by vendors selling on the streets instead of the market.
Imagine we had an incident the other day where a car got out of control. The same thing that the police kept preaching and preaching to these people. What will happen if a car gets out of control? And so said, so done. A car got out of control just 2 weeks ago, and 2 persons got injured, broken legs. They're at St. Anne's Bay Hospital as we speak because they're in the road. They will not adhere to the rules and go inside the market.
Well, I noticed that most of the vendors are now settled inside the market.
Yes, sir. And all thanks to the police of Brownstown, St. Anne. They are doing what they should. But like I said, you'll have like 2 or 3 that stick to the cause of keeping the people in the market because they're understaffed. Imagine if they get like 5 more police with them. The place will run better. Less traffic, people inside, everybody all right.
She says more municipal police are being trained to be deployed to the area.
We have more than 100 coaster bus Monday to Friday on a daily basis that travels through Brownstown, that use the bypasses. However, I am sure you are aware of the major potholes that are in the town. And as you know, our Member of Parliament is working on them. It's coming from the road rehabilitation that is happening from Brownstown to Runaway Bay. Our town so sort out.
It's time for a break. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. President of the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, Robin Russell, has expressed satisfaction with a recent adjustment to the U.S. State Department's travel advisory for Jamaica. In an interview with TVJ News, Mr. Russell also provided an update on post-Hurricane Beryl and water issues in Negril. The revised advisory, which now categorizes Jamaica as a level 2 destination, indicates that tourists should exercise increased caution when traveling to the island. Mr. Russell welcomed the adjustment, arguing that the language in the advisory has softened significantly when compared to the previous one.
And that is because of the work that we, the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, Jamaica Tourist Board, EPDCO, the JCF has been doing with the U.S. Embassy in, alleviating the concerns. It has to do with a lower crime rate. All of these things are in your travel advisory. And when we work with training programs and crime is coming down and guests are safe and guests are able to move around, then the travel advisory goes down, which is what has happened. And we're grateful, but we're continuing to work to get it to exactly where we want it, which is a level 1.
As it relates to the passage of Hurricane Beryl, Mr. Russell provided an update noting that the sector is on a good track in terms of recovery.
We've recovered to 2019 numbers, even with us losing a busy week, which is that July 4th weekend, which is a big American holiday because of the hurricane. We recovered very quickly and we're boasting very good numbers. August looks very relatively well, and so does September. So we're just really looking forward to a good rest of the year.
Mr. Russell was also questioned about the ongoing water issues in Negril. Residents and business operators have been experiencing frequent water disruptions, sparking concerns about the impact on the tourism sector.
The resolution is a 2-year project. We know that the last time we met with the minister, the feasibility study was being done, and also some short-term remedial work was being done in terms of cleaning the lines and getting the more water from Lucy into Negril. So we are along the way. The money has been allocated, and we're hoping to see the project really get started, which is, digging up the roadways and connecting the major waterways to all the way to Negril.
It's now time for the Business Minute.
The private sector organization of Jamaica PSOJ has strongly condemned the heinous shootings that occurred in the Cherry Tree Lane, Four Paths community of Clarendon on August 11. The PSOJ is extending its deepest condolences to the families and loved ones of those who were killed during the tragedy. The PSOJ says it remains committed to collaborating with the government, civil society and all partners to address the root causes of crime and violence. Further afield, there has been an abrupt change in leadership at Starbucks on Tuesday as the company announced that its CEO Laxman Narasimhan will step down immediately. Chipotle CEO Brian Nicol has been tapped to replace him. The ouster comes just a year after Narasimhan took over the role. In that time, the coffee chain has struggled. Sales recently dropped 3% globally at stores open for at least a year. The change at the top also comes as Starbucks stock has fallen 17% for the year. Nicol has been leading the Mexican-inspired food chain since 2018. During his tenure, the chain's revenue grew nearly 800%. Nicol is set to leave Chipotle on August 31. He begins his new role at Starbucks on September 9. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Nakinsky Robinson.
And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's health report. In this evening's health report, we look at brain bleed.
Patients who, they're a 50-year-old father with multiple kids, they're working a job, trying to take care of their family, and now they're disabled essentially, and their family has to take care of them. And so it's sort of a big deal long term. We see them during a snapshot, a brief period of their life where we try to get them back on track. But really, a lot of people, once they've had that bleeding in the brain from a hypertensive stroke, for instance, can be disabled for the rest of their lives.
That's the health report in Primetime News at 7. And now for today's healthy living tip. Control high blood pressure, maintain a healthy weight, avoid smoking and excessive alcohol consumption, and manage your stress. Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, Tropical Storm Ernesto is rapidly intensifying as it moves through the Caribbean. Puerto Rico is preparing for the storm, which could become a hurricane by Wednesday. Residents are stocking up on essentials, recalling past storms like Maria. Governor Pedro Pierluisi urges people to stay home except for essential workers. Ernesto may bring up to 10 inches of rain, causing flash flooding and power outages, and could also generate dangerous rip currents along the U.S. East Coast and nearby regions. On the international scene, Thailand's Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin has been removed from office by the Constitutional Court for violating ethics rules. The court found that he appointed a lawyer with a criminal record to his cabinet. This decision follows the recent dissolution of the Move Forward Party, which won the most seats in last year's election. A new government must be formed and Srettha's policies, including a major economic stimulus plan, face uncertainty. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Raquel Porter.
We head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report with Renardo.